Hello everyone and welcome back to Timberborn. This is episode 20 of the One Pod Challenge. We have made a lot of progress up until now. We recently constructed the city over here on top of the Badwater diversion system. And our second production line is doing really well. We have a lot of buildings paused. Maybe today we'll go ahead and rearrange some of these. We have a fair amount of space that is still open over here. And I realize I actually haven't been fully blocking off all these water wheels, so let's go ahead and get some levees placed down. And as you can see, we've actually been lowering the Badwater levels over here quite a bit, since we have both the Badwater domes that are currently closed, and we're actually running really low on Badwater. We only have 400 at the moment, since we did end up pausing some of these ones, so we can go ahead and turn these ones back on. And then we can also get some more Badwater pumps set up over here once we get the rest of these levees constructed. But first we'll have to start placing down some more levees. And so now they should be able to reach all of this. We will have to place the last levees down individually once we get rid of this bridge in the future. And so then soon, hopefully we'll get all the bad water pumped out of here. Maybe we look at getting some water pumped into this area to help irrigate it, since we do have a water source right across here. But in the meantime, let's start placing down some dirt blocks over here. Looks like we are also starting to run a little bit low on dirt. Thankfully we have 3 of these dirt excavators that we can go ahead and unpause. Oh my gosh, we had all 5 of them paused. Let's go ahead and turn these ones on as well. And we have a bad tide approaching in 3 days. So we are not going to be experiencing a drought. That is good news. Although I'm thinking I want to open up these water domes, since you can see that they are actually almost finished pumping all the bad water out of here. So let's go ahead and open this. Originally I turned it off because I was thinking about maybe having this whole area not get contaminated. But I think the better course of action is to get the power system set up over here. And then also place some either dirt blocks or levees so that we can make the bad water area a little bit more focused and keep it more contained. That way the bad water effects won't be spilling out across here. So we can have the bots go ahead and start working on constructing all of this over here. We need to make sure that we actually connect the path in, but it looks like they can start working on it from the bottom, and then soon they'll be working their way over here. And then in the meantime, we can go ahead and get the channel set up so that we can get some water pumped into this area. We're going to go ahead and utilize the new tunnel feature. And it looks like the bots finished constructing all the levees over here pretty dang quickly. So we'll go ahead and finish the rest of this off. And so with the tunneling feature, we'll go ahead and lower, let's see, we'll go 4 levels deep. And now we have a lot of major projects going on. Looks like they've already made some good progress over here. They've built up as much as they can in this area. And then they've been also jetting out the dirt blocks over here. Looks like they should be finished pretty shortly. And now that this is all blocked off, the bad water pumpers will slowly start to drain this. And then once they do finish clearing this out, we can go ahead and move them over here. Or maybe we should move them downstream. Oh, and I am just remembering that in the last episode, we did lower this whole area. So we were going to make some power production over here instead of the one over here that I'm working on right now. It has been several days since I recorded the last episode, so I'm just trying to get caught up now. So let's go ahead and set all of this to low priority. We can have them work on constructing these few sections, since if they can get this ready, then down the road they'll be able to have access to all these levees much easier than if we were trying to build it out individually. But over here, I think the first step is going to be to lower some of these blocks over here, and then we can go ahead and start putting in some power wheels along this way. And so the bad tide has started. I believe there are some water sources under here, so now let's start producing some bad water instead. It's only 5 days long. That is actually a relatively short bad tide. And it looks like the bots have finished placing all the dynamite over here. And so this system is going to be going back and forth a fair amount. Since we have a few blocks of elevation that we have to work with, we can go up about 2 or 3. And so we'll go ahead and start setting up the first set of water wheels. We'll probably want to make some platforms on the back side, and then we'll get some of the other ones on the other side. As well as this should probably make it so it's easy to actually access this other area. And with the bad tide in full swing, it doesn't really look like the bad water has actually been drained out that much over here. Looks like we're about 2 plank widths below the levees. And then over here it looks like we're about the same elevation change. But it does appear the bad water has been trapped, so it can't actually get into here. Although, is that the case? I don't think so. Actually, it looks like the bad water can make it in. So okay, that's starting to make sense now. Looks like we'll need to go ahead and replace some of these with some levees instead. And unfortunately we have some big pieces of infrastructure on there, so maybe it would just be easier to lay down some levees over here instead. So now that we have that sorted out, hopefully it will actually block off this section from filling back up with bad water, and then we can finally start working on actually clearing some of this out. Looks like the bots have made some excellent progress over here. They have the first set of water wheels up, and so now let's go ahead and get some more placed down. Although I realize that I have this set to one elevation too high, so we actually have to get rid of some of these levees right here. And that will mean that I'll need to replace these with some double high platforms with single ones on top. So now we can actually place down some water wheels. And honestly, this might work out perfectly since we'll have an area that we can get all the power shafts set up. And if we get some small warehouses set up really quickly and high prioritize these, then we can have the bots collect all this stuff and just place it right in here. And look at that. They finished placing all the levees over here, even though this is all lowest priority, since we have a lot of workers in this district. And it does look like they finished constructing the tunnel over here. And so now all we'll have to do is connect this up to a power system. And for now, we're just going to get an engine set up to see if the concept even works. And on the bright side, it does look like we were able to seal off the bad water over here. Since this is lowering in elevation, they've almost pumped out an entire levee's worth of bad water. And then once they get a lot more of this pumped out, we can go ahead and start... Oh, looks like they already started pumping the water into here. So maybe we go ahead and pause this for now. And then we'll also pause the engine. We'll want to see the bad water elevation drop first before we start filling this up with water. And I do have it selected to water and not unfiltered or bad water. But there also isn't really that much water in here, since these water sources are currently spitting out bad water. And so the bad tide has officially ended. And now we are beginning cycle 33. And as you can see, the water wheels have been constructed. We are going to continue expanding them over here. And then we can go ahead and connect them up on this side with some power shafts. But in terms of how you want to connect them all into the system over here, I honestly think the best way is going to be to go underground over in this direction. And then we can go ahead and place some overhangs right over here. And then get some power shafts that can go ahead and connect into these gravity batteries. You might need to replace one of them in order to get the power shafts to actually connect. But overall, it's going to be a fairly straightforward process. And if we go at this level, then we should be clear of the water that is up here. And so we'll just have to make sure that the beavers can actually access this area. And so we'll go ahead and work our way all the way over here. And then in the very end, we'll work our way up. Oh, it looks like they're actually able to start from this side. Can we get another one set up right here? The only downside is that we will need to remove at least one of these overhangs temporarily, just so we can go ahead and get the overhang set up. And then as soon as the bot right here places some dynamite, we'll go ahead and detonate that and get some stairs installed. And now they should be able to start working their way over here. And we'll just have to make sure we add some paths in so they can reach everything. And while they work on that, we can also get some power shafts set up under here and then continue adding in some more water wheels. Overall, we have a fair amount of planks and wood, so there's no shortages yet. But I'll make sure to keep an eye on them so we don't actually run out of anything. And so we have quite a few things that the beavers can work on over here. It honestly looks like they're making pretty good progress right off the bat since we have so many workers. And these bad water pumpers are continuing to pump the bad water. Looks like we've just dropped below the levee level, but there's still a few to go. And we've also been increasing in bad water, which is excellent news. And so looking over here, it looks like we have a fair amount of canola seeds. We probably don't need quite all of this, so let's actually go ahead and remove some of them. And then let's try and make this farm just a little bit more aesthetic. We'll go ahead and get some fences unlocked over here, and then place them down all the way along this. Looks like the bots are about 2/3 of the way over here. Oh, I didn't know that they could actually go diagonally. That doesn't entirely make sense, but they are getting close to the end. And so we just have to figure out how we're actually going to make the power shafts go up. I think that I have enough tunnel blocks that it should be able to work. If we go ahead and go underneath here, then we should be able to work in this direction just a little bit. So let's set up some temporary stairs. And so with these water wheels alone, we're producing over 8,000 power, but they're not quite connected in. Whereas in our original system, we have 24,000 power. But this is just the beginning. We can add so much more, especially once we start bumping up the water elevation across here. My guess is we could probably add in 24,000 power from this system alone. And especially with this running during the bad tides and droughts, then I don't think we'll have a power issue anymore. And so it does appear the bots are working their way over in this direction. In fact, they just finished constructing everything, it looks like. So now we just have to get some power shafts set up. Looks like we have dropped significantly on wood. We're down to 1,000 as opposed to 3,000. So we'll wait to put in some of these water wheels until we've actually connected everything in. And so they have started the process of getting the power shaft set up. And now we'll just slowly start getting them connected in. And so in just a moment, I think they should actually get everything connected in. And look at that, 33,000 power. We have so much power. And so we are going up in wood, but we'll wait just a little bit longer before adding in some more water wheels. For now, let's think about getting some of the monuments unlocked. We have 16,000 science, and that should be enough to unlock some of these. This one is 20,000, so we'll have to wait a little bit longer for that one. And so now let's start thinking about how we can get some overhang set up on top of this area, because there is potential to make this look pretty cool. And now one thing we could actually do is get a tubeway station set up in here, since right now the beavers just have to walk all the way into this area. And so I don't think we actually ended up getting a tubeway station up here. I do think that I wanted to get one set up, but it looks like that did not end up happening. I think there is a path that we can go ahead and get this set up with. We'll just have to go vertically first. And so now we have the second tubeway station, which is pretty close to this one, but now it's a little drop off point, and then we have some more tubes set up over here. And they won't be able to construct these overhangs quite yet, and so we're going to actually make some stairs that go up through the middle, and then I'm hoping that they'll be able to reach it from over here. Oh, it looks like they were able to actually construct these overhangs from the tubes. So now let's go ahead and get one more set up, plus the tubeway station. And let's see, we're going to make a slight adjustment. We'll have to get rid of some of these. Since we're not going to be using these two squares, this would be a perfect spot to get some of the power shafts to go up. Okay, it looks like I am able to fit some power shafts over here. And we'll go ahead and mirror it on this side, even though it's not necessary. The symmetry is something that is appealing to me. And now we can go ahead and let the bots work on constructing all of this, and also go ahead and replace that tube station. And the bad water levels have dropped significantly over here. They are nearly done pumping all the bad water out, and I think it'd be worth getting a few more of the bad water pumpers set up over here, so they can pump it all the way down to the bottom level. And look at that, we have a stream gauge set up, but we lowered the water level so much that it is just completely useless. So let's go ahead and get rid of that one. And so we have a drought approaching in 3 days, but this time I don't think it's going to really impact us, since we have the bad water domes that are fully opened. And now we're capturing the power through the bad water in this section right here, and then also downstream over here. And I made one of my first mistakes. I actually placed in these overhangs. We'll need to go ahead and remove them since we have the stairs that we want to go up in either direction. But we'll let them finish constructing these overhangs first. And with 1.4 days until the drought begins, it does look like they finished constructing the set of overhangs that I have set up. So let's start thinking about getting some of these monuments unlocked. This is one of the more expensive ones, but it does require power. So maybe we'll go ahead and wait on that. These ones do require a decent amount of resources, but I think they'd be a little bit easier to move if needed. So maybe I guess we should finish getting the overhang set up before placing these down. And so the drought has officially started. It is an 8-day long drought. The water wheels over here are already starting to stop spinning. And so now our power production is actually below what we need, but on the bright side we can pause some jobs since it looks like we are completely maxed out on dirt, and these buildings take a fair amount of power. But we have also been increasing in wood, so let's go ahead and get a few more of these water wheels set up. So I've been covering up the top with these platforms and overhangs, and so it's a little bit of a funky shape. We should be able to fit all the monuments right on top here. And so let's go ahead and start off with getting these two set up. And then we have the platform set for the final monument, which this is a humongous building. It's 7 by 7, costs 20,000 science. So we'll have to wait before unlocking this, but we do have the stage set for where it's going to go. And then overall, it looks like we have a fair amount of wood. Planks are starting to drop a little bit, so we won't place down a lot of these at the moment. But I did also want to get some impermeable floors set up and then get some well-being stuff up here. Specifically a swimming pool, and then maybe some showers. And so we'll start by placing 1,000,000 impermeable floors down. Since we have a fair amount of metal blocks, it shouldn't be too big of a problem. And it's also going to give this top area a more unified look. And then once we've placed all that down, we can go ahead and start thinking about where we want to actually place the pools, the showers, and some of the monuments. And so the addition of these water wheels has helped, although we still are running a little bit short on power. But all of these gravity batteries over here are helping to supplement it. We're a couple days in, and it looks like we've only dropped 2,000 or 3,000 HP for some of these. And so at that rate, we'll probably be about halfway through the gravity batteries by the time the drought is over. And then we will definitely be able to recuperate our power with all of the power wheels that we have. And so as you can see, the bots are making their way with all the metal platforms over here. The impermeable flooring is a pretty good look in my opinion. We can go ahead and get some levees set up over here. And I think I'm going to make an outer ring of water features. We'll just need to figure out how we can actually move all the water around. And the beavers are happier. I'm assuming they finished constructing one of these. And now their well-being is going to be jumping up dramatically. And so we have the footprint set up for these pools over here. We'll be able to fit in a fluid dump right in the middle, although maybe we will want to get one of these set up instead, and then have water pumped up into the system. We'll have to go ahead and see how this all pans out, since one fluid dump might not be enough to fill everything up. And as you can see, their well-being is up to 56 now. I don't know what the maximum is, but I think we're probably going to get pretty dang close in this series, since the beavers literally spend 0 hours working and all their time is going into fun activities. And with that, we're going to wrap up today's episode. This city is sticking up. It's a little bit hard to get a good angle of the rest of the colony. Things are looking up for the beavers over here. Soon they'll get an additional couple pools in this area, and then we'll be able to work on closing down some of these buildings over here. So if you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and hit that like button. I really do appreciate it, and it does help the channel out tremendously. And if you want to help the channel out even more, consider becoming a channel member. And with that, we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.